Hey basketball players, today I am going to be breaking down Kenyon Martin Jr. And if you've been wondering where you've heard that name before, well, it's because his father used to be an NBA All-Star, and now Kenyon Martin Jr., Kenyon Martin's son, is about to do just that very soon. Here we have Kenyon Martin. Let's break him down. So right here is Kenyon Martin Jr., and he is a fantastic player. He played on IMG Academy, and he has declared for the NBA draft. And if you're wondering, how does that happen for a high schooler player to play in the NBA without going to college? Well, I'm pretty sure they changed the rules back to where it used to be. But anyways, from there, what we have is a very good player. He is a right-handed player, even though he can throw down nasty left-handed dunks. And how does he do this? And why does he do this? I'm not too sure, and I'm going to be able to get into that further into this video. But let's keep on breaking down Kenyon Martin Jr. So one of the things that really stands out about Kenyon Martin Jr. is his ability to dunk the ball. He can pretty well dunk over anybody. And I mean anybody as in advanced high school players. The one thing that I do notice about Kenyon Martin's game, and I don't know if you've noticed this yet either, but when it comes to his dunks, he really only goes for two types of dunks. He goes for the left-handed dunk, and then he also goes for the two-handed dunk. But he's a right-handed player. He hasn't gone for all that many right-handed dunks, even though he's able to throw down these flashy dunks like this. I have looked through a lot of highlight tapes. I have not seen any right-handed dunks. I also have not seen any right-handed layups either, which is quite interesting. But then again, if you can dunk like that, why would you want to go in for any layups anyways? And then even when he does do a layup on the right side, Euro step around that player, he goes for a left-handed layup. And then when he's on a fast break on the right side, he also goes in for a left-handed dunk. But that's a very special move, or at least a very smart move, because when we look at it, he cuts off those two players from being able to even have an attempt to block his shot. And because of that, they need to slow down so they don't foul him. So that's actually a very smart move on his point or his part, but still quite interesting as to why no right-handed dunks or layups. Is he only doing two-handed and left-handed dunks because he can't use his right hand all that well? Or is he just doing these two types of dunks because maybe his right hand is just too good and he wants to improve the left hand and the two-handed dunks for when he goes to the NBA? That's a very good question, and I'm kind of curious as to why he doesn't use his right hand all that much, at least in the highlights. Kenyon Martin Jr. is also a very good three-point shooter. Now, mind you, these are high school three-point shots, but as we can see in this highlight, he actually is standing at the NBA three-point line. He actually has very good form as well. And when we look at his form, just very briefly, and if he does make it to an NBA team, I will be breaking down his shooting form. He dips the ball down in front of his body, he brings up the ball in front of his body, he keeps that right elbow underneath that ball pretty well, and then, when it comes to his legs, he has his right foot turned slightly towards the left side. His set point is just right above his forehead. And then his follow-through, he keeps his elbow above his eyes. So this is just a quick, brief overview of his shooting form. I will be getting into that a little bit deeper possibly later. But he does make a lot of threes. Now, even though this is a high school level and this player is in no way, shape, or form in the ability to be able to defend Kenyon Martin Jr., crossed the feet to the player, facing this way, past the player even, and then all he has to do is go in the other direction, and then that player just totally leaves Kenyon Martin Jr. wide open. That cannot happen. So even though this was a nice crossover, just a quick crossover, and hopped into his crossover as well, he's still got an uncontested left-handed dunk, and that should have never really happened. I'm actually quite curious as to why that player left Kenyon Martin Jr. wide open. Now, and one thing that I do notice about Kenyon Martin Jr. is his inability to finish with contact. However, at the same time, that was 3 players hacking his arm. So I'm not quite surprised that he lost the ball there. However, he does have the hunger to go after the ball again and then finally slamming it on top of the defenders' faces. Now, as we can see in this clip, he has a lot of body control, and you can get this kind of control by working out your lower back, your core, and also your hips. These are very important when driving, when catching that ball from behind you and then driving right away and taking your 2 steps and going up for a dunk and while getting smacked in the face. That takes a lot of core strength and also a lot of hip strength to be able to do things like this. It's always hard to try and break down a player who is heads and shoulders above his competition. You never really get to see his full-out ability until he finally gets to go up against better competition. He is definitely not a high school level player, and I can tell you right now, he would thrive even this year being a high school player in the college game. However, as we all know, he has declared for this year's NBA draft, and he will be probably selected sometime in the 2nd round. And I'm going to tell you right now, whichever team gets him, it's going to be an absolute steal because he is going to be an absolutely amazing player. I hope that you have enjoyed today's video. If you have, hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again next time.